welcome to this hacking tutorial. Let's just get this started. So when it comes to hacking, whenever you click into it, you're going to have two ways that you can start it. The keycard activate and the initiate door fault. 99% of the time, you're only going to want to do the keycard activate, because what that's going to do is just open the door, and that's all you're mostly going to need. This is what you're going to be doing when you're hacking out SCPs, just trying to get into a high clearance area, anything like that. Because if you initiate the door fault, that's going to keep the doors opening and closing, but it is also a more difficult hack to do. So let's just get into this keycard activate. And now that we're here, we start off with two paths. And the first thing that we see is that we have an A4, which already goes onto our first path here. And paths, they go from left to right. So it'll go from A4 to C6 to E6. And down here, C6 to C6 to C6. Now this is an extremely easy one just because of this RNG with our C6s, but let's just go down this first path first. So right here we have an A4, and with that we have to check where our next place is. So we have this A4, and then we need a C6. And we have that right below us. But how do you interact with that? The way you do that is you see this yellow line that we're at. Once we interact with this A4, it'll form a line where it is lit up, because you see how it is lit up compared to the rest of the boxes. That is because that is where our next line that we will be able to interact with is. So from here, we're going to be able to hit that and then go to the C6, and with that, that'll form another sideways line that will allow us to get to this E6, which is the third part of our combination. So we are just going to go there, there, and there. And now we have gotten one line done. And now for this next one, it is C6, and as you can see, we do not have any C6s here. But it is always okay to just fail once or twice, or even more if you need to be able to make it to where you need to be. Now keep in mind, you do have only 5 free mistakes. And then once you hit that 5th one, you fail the hack. But here, we are just going to hit that to go to the C6, and since they are all C6s, we can just hit the same C6 over and over and over again until we get that. And it is not always going to be like that. I just got really lucky there, but the concept is always going to be the same. And now, since we did level 2, we're going to move on to level 3. And for this tutorial is more so to help you get past your original CI test. After that, you just need to practice on your own, get better, and I bet you're going to be amazing. But here, it's going to be the same thing with the keycard activate, so we're going to start with that. And now we have 3 lines, and it's going to be the same thing here. Do we have any path starters here? Yes, we do. We have a C2, and we have a B7, and we have an A5. We can start on any path, but you want to make sure you get the right path correct the first time. So let's start with here, A5. Yes, we have an A5 here. All right. And we have an A5 there. We have an A5 on both these places. So we need to find our C2s next. We have one right there. So instead of going from A5 to A5, yes, you could go for this C2 over here. But when you do that, you're not going to have any E2s on this line that you're going to need. So the way you're going to do this path is by double-clicking this A5 right here, coming over to the C2, hitting that, and now you're going to be able to interact with this E2 down here. And now that we're down here, we have created a new path. What do we have available? A B7, and that is it for now. But if you look, B7 right there, that's not going to allow us to get to that B6. But since we have it down here, we can use that to get us a free path of sorts. Because we can go from this B7 right here to where we still have mistakes up here, to get to this C2 to start this path, since we cannot complete this one. So then we can go from this C2 over to this A5 that we need. And the reason you don't go for this one is because you're not going to be able to make it to an E3. You just got to make sure you're hitting the correct ones to continue your path. So we're going to go from this A5 down to this E3, which will allow us to get the C6 on the far left, and then hit that C6 to get this A3 at the top. And now we are back at this B7, which, lucky for us, the B6 is right below it, so we can just click that into our B6. And now sometimes you may be faced with an impossible hack. If you do face an impossible hack during the test, make sure that you have the software called metal.tv. and clip what your impossible hack was. Because if you have an impossible hack, then the people doing your CI test will allow you to get another attempt, because that does happen sometimes where a hack is actually impossible. But that is the tutorial for this. Once you figure this out and get down the clearance 2 and the clearance 3, work on getting the clearance 4 and the clearance 5 and higher than that. And I'm not going to be able to show it in this tutorial, but there are certain ways that will make this harder. Like if this clearance 2 right here, if it has a fingerprint icon, that means it will be one level stronger. So this clearance 2 will become a clearance 3 essentially, and vice versa. This clearance 3, if it had a fingerprint, it would become a clearance 4. So I hope all of you who watch this video pass your CI test, and just have a fantastic day breaking out SCPs and causing chaos. Long live the engineer.